Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. Yes, finally, I decided to have a podcast. And the slogan of this podcast is the following. If you wish to learn something from this, change the channel right now. Today, I'm going to interview a person that I have a high level of estimation for. I've seen his life. I've seen his integrity. I've seen his inspirational story, but also seen somebody very relatable, the friendliest guy in the fitness industry in the state of Arizona. I want to welcome my dear friend, Joseph Roybal. Joe.
What's going on, Ivan?
Great to see you. Great to see you again. Welcome to my podcast.
Well, here we are.
Should we call it podcast? I mean, everybody has a podcast.
I guess we can call whatever we can call it. If it's going on YouTube, I guess it's just do it old school. Just call it a video.
Well, let's call it a video. So I wanted to first and foremost thank you for taking the time,
of course,
to share your story with our audience.
Yeah.
I hope that the ones that are watching there don't expect to necessarily listen to something of two people who are quote unquote famous talking about what they know, but two regular guys who really love fitness, sharing a moment, and more so in my own selfish way, to get to know you better.
Absolutely. I love it. That's the kind of stuff.
And give a platform to my friends to come in and tell the story.
Yeah.
So tell me about you, Joe. You're originally from Colorado.
Yeah, I'm originally from Colorado. Born in the early 70s out there. I've got two older sisters.
Can you tell us what year?
I was born in 1974.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be 50 this year.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I'm getting up there. But yeah, I got two older sisters. I'm the baby of the family. We were born in a town, like two older sisters and an older brother.
What are their names?
I've got Alex is the oldest, Christina, and then my older brother, Rick.
Right.
And everybody's in the valley now, but we all...
So you're the baby of the family.
I'm the baby of the family.
So tell me about Colorado. How many years you spent there after you guys were born?
Well, I was obviously born in 74, but I moved out here personally in 98. So I've been, in Phoenix for
from 1974 to 1998, you were in Colorado.
I was in Colorado.
Tell me about your childhood, how your upbringing.
Well, my upbringing, I came up from a pretty roughneck type of upbringing as far as grandparents, father, everybody we grew up in a mining town.
Oh, wow.
So we were brought up on those old school work ethic, hardcore, just good family values, that kind of stuff. Just tiny town. Like my parents, just to kind of give you an example of how small the schools were that we grew up in. I think my dad's graduating class was probably around 20 people. Mm-hmm. My graduating class was 72 people. But yeah, it was just a really tiny community. We actually grew up in, I'm sure some people are familiar with Vail in Colorado.
Vail.
Well, my family.
Oh, I've driven by that in the evening.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh my God, what a breathtaking view.
Yeah, well, the beauty of that is my family's got a ton of history there. My family, and we've been in that valley, Eagle County, what they call Vail Valley now, but we were there before Vail was ever a resort.
Question: you mentioned mining. What kind of mining?
There was, I believe up there was it, I think some copper mining.
Copper.
There's some, other byproducts that came out of there. Pyrite was one of the minerals that was drawn out of there. Coal mine, that kind of stuff. So
Was your family?
Yes, both my grandfathers were, they worked in the mine. A lot of my family worked in the mine.
That'd be a scary job. Huh?
Yeah, real scary job. Because, you're talking about going hundreds of feet deep underground. Wow. And, pretty roughneck kind of upbringing, So we just grew up in, like I said, it was Gilman was where the mine was at. And then you've got Minturn, which is roughly the same area.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, they're all right there around Vail. And like I said, my family, we were in that area before Vail was ever a ski resort.
As you were growing up, childhood sports, anything you practice, how do you get interested into physical fitness?
Well, so growing up, we were always into sports, and obviously being such a small town, we never had club sports. We never had any of that kind of stuff. So it was always through the school. So elementary, middle school, all into high school, probably middle school, I played just about every sport. I was basketball, I ran track, football, all that kind of stuff. And then as I got into high school, I was mostly track and football. I ran track to make me faster for football, and
Gotcha.
football made me stronger for track.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of back and forth. I was a sprinter. I was one of the smallest throwers, shot and disc throwers. But
Okay.
we got into fitness really early. My parents opened up a gym. It's called
It tells me how small your town was.
yeah,
If you shot put, right?
yeah.
That you were like
I was a
120
sprinter.
pounds.
Yeah. I think I graduated at about 165 pounds, and I was,
Like the biggest guy.
Yeah, not very big, but just athletic.
Okay.
But yeah, we were about the age of 12, 13. My parents opened up a small gym, roughly, probably not too far, similar size to what you have
Oh,
here.
so they started a gym.
A gym, yeah. It was.
Is it for themselves or is it like
It
a
was for the
commercial
community.
gym?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was for the community. It was
Okay.
called Heartbeats. Was the name of the gym. And
Why was it called Harvey?
to be honest, I don't know the backstory on why my parents, because it was my parents and two other families. We all went in on the gym, and I think it was just
So the gym thing was instilled in you early.
early, really early. Yeah, really early. Like I've been, and I tell people I've been at this well over 3 decades. I've been at this for well over 3 decades.
Tell me some of the memories of this place and what you did there.
Honestly, some of my favorite memories there were literally just, I have so many vivid memories of just putting it together and actually building it, helping my dad move
Fun stuff,
equipment in
huh?
there, fun stuff, because we were always really active with my parents. My dad, we were always camping and hunting and all that kind of stuff. So we've always been really close in that aspect. But when he started the gym, it just kind of brought us even closer together, and then the gym lasted a few years. And then, like I said, we created a lot of really good memories there as far as just learning how to work out. We had a little small aerobics room. We had a little kind of the hot tub and all that stuff.
How old were you around that time?
I was about 12 when they started.
So basically, we're talking about
13.
now 1986.
Yep.
Yeah, Denise Austin.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
Jane Fonda.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
myself,
for sure.
So.
Yeah. So a lot of that's really what started my fitness journey, because
you had to get some Jack LaLanne in there.
yeah, of course, had Jack LaLanne in there. I mean, we had all the old school posters after the gym. Actually, we ended up having to shut it down just because such a small town, it wasn't enough people to support it.
I understand that.
So once it shut down, my dad actually converted our garage into a gym.
So he kept some of the stuff.
Yeah, we had squat racks and full racks of weights and all that stuff. We had a universal machine at the time. Had all the mirrors. We had our Corey Everson posters up.
Very
nice.
All
those. So yeah, we grew up grew up on muscle.
So gym was part of the fabric of your family.
Absolutely. Because really it was actually the fabric of a lot of the friends that I had that I went to school with.
Very nice.
Because aside from the high school gym, we were the only gym in town.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of my friends, a lot of my parents' friends, they worked out at, we used to call it the Casa con Carne, House of Beef. So
that's a good name for a gym.
Yeah.
I'm about to change the name for my gym, Casa con Carne. I'm sure that would drive a lot more people.
You're right.
But now, you're born in Colorado.
Yeah.
You're the youngest of 4.
Mm-hmm.
Your dad introduced you to the gym industry by the virtue of this business. And now what? You moved to Arizona. And what was the reason you guys moved to Arizona?
So my big reason for moving here is for a long time, my oldest sister, Alex, she would come visit here with a friend of hers, her best friend. And they always came out here and they were like, yeah, we're going to go to the valley. And I was always kind of enamored by, what's the valley? I never knew what that was. They're going to a valley. In my head, when I was a kid, I was like, they're going to a big valley, I had no idea what it was. So after I graduated, I actually had plans to move to Montana, or sorry, not Montana, but to Utah.
Okay.
And with that, I was going to go up there and run snowcats. I used to run grooming machines on the resorts.
The stuff that you have to learn because you're in Colorado.
Yeah, you're just up there.
You're not trying.
Yeah,
it just happens.
Yeah, I pretty much grew up on a pair of skis too. I learned how to ski when I was 4 and 5 years old, so we were always on the mountain. So I just, instead of moving to Salt Lake City, I decided, well, I'll come out here. So I moved in. I lived with my sister for a few months,
She
got a
was already
job.
living here,
She was already living here. So when she graduated, she ended up moving here. And basically, I kind of followed her after I graduated. And sorry, I'll back up a little bit. I went to Denver Institute of Technology first, went through some different courses there, automotive technology, some
Okay,
stuff
so
like
that's
that.
your stuff, automotive,
Yeah,
mechanics.
it was, yeah, at one point. And then it wasn't going on the path I wanted it to. So I decided to kind of make a change. And this was kind of a natural course of things because I already had my oldest sister here, had an opportunity to come out, get a job. And I told myself I was going to come out here and, I started in construction in Colorado as well.
Okay.
I used to do a ton of construction as well. And
so a jack of all trades.
yeah, I mean, I was never like a personal trainer at my parents' gym. We just always worked out there. But like my trade I was always into heavy dirt work, construction, that kind of stuff. So I grew up in a lot of that stuff as well. So kind of ties right in.
I'm surprised you didn't get into welding.
I did a little bit.
Back in the day,
I did a little bit, not as far as like a profession with one of the construction companies I ran at one point.
Back in the day, every gym had to have a welder.
Yeah.
The machines were not the ones we see today.
No, there was a lot of the old.
Can you remember some of the machines that you have?
Yeah, oh yeah, like our squat racks, very similar, just really raw squat racks. And then
was it a name brand or something, or just?
Honestly, I don't remember the name brand. I do remember the one that we had. It was a cable machine, and it was the name on it was just Universal Machine.
Oh yeah,
Universal.
A brand called Universal.
Yeah. So that one, we had the pull down. It had an incline press, and then it almost had. It looked like
chrome.
It was chrome. It was chrome, and then you had the little slot you could put in to do leg press on it. Yeah, so we had that one, and then we had one tree of weights, and then a whole rack of dumbbells.
Yeah. That company was eventually purchased by a company called Paramount.
Paramount, yeah, Paramount. I have at our gym. We have a couple pieces of Paramount. I was looking at some of your stuff as well. So,
do you have anything left from that era, like magazines or equipment? Or
I've asked my parents, some of the partners that were in the business, and unfortunately, I don't have anything left. I was kind of hoping to get a shirt or just something, right. But no, we at one point, my brother and I wanted to purchase a lot of that equipment for my dad to have here, because my brother's in the fitness industry as well. He was a chiropractor.
Okay.
So we at one point we did, but it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Now grow into the gym. Now let's go back to 1998.
Sure.
You move here.
Mm-hmm.
You find a job. What was your first job here?
My first job here was actually P.F. Chang's. Out of all the jobs, I worked in Tempe. I actually moved here with my sister. I lived with her for about a month and a half, 2 months, and I think we spent 2 weeks just dropping.
She was getting tired of you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, kind of the smart ass younger brother, so probably was getting a little bit tired of me. But
and the fridge was not as full.
Yeah,
anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
your cell phone was a mess.
Yeah, exactly. I think I barely just gotten a cell phone at that time when I moved out here. I was about 20 years old when I moved out here.
Very nice.
So, but yeah, I started off at P.F. Chang's, and then I eventually migrated back to construction just because I wasn't making I loved it. It was a fun job, but it wasn't, in construction, you start off making.
So that's 1998. You're already settled. You have your first job.
Yep.
What do you remember about Phoenix that you think is different from now? What was cool about it? What was different about it? Or maybe what was bad about it that you say in comparison to almost 30 years ago?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest thing, and I'll just kind of do this in comparison to where Tempe is now to where I grew up in Tempe, where I moved to Tempe because my brother and I had an apartment out in Tempe. And for me, the way it's changed quite a bit, it was a huge culture shock coming from a tiny town where it was 72 people in your graduating class, I think probably 400 people.
Big city, yeah.
Yeah, to a big city, it was definitely a culture shock for me. But the biggest thing that I see now is how Tempe went from, when I lived there, Tempe, you could go down and all the different bars, and there was always good bands down there. You could go down and there was bands playing everywhere. Now it's not quite the same. It just feels like it's all corporate entities down the Mill Avenue and all that
more
stuff.
Business and fun.
More business and fun. And I get it. That's just kind of natural growth. But to me, it just felt like back in the day, like you could go down to like Belo's or Long Longs or all these different little clubs down there, and just you could always go see bands, because I always liked doing that with my friends. Like I was never really going out like let's go crazy clubbing or anything like that. Like I did, but I was more interested in like going to see some good bands or that kind of stuff. So we followed. There's one band that I still follow to this day that I originally started following them in Colorado and learned that they grew up here.
What's the name of the band? So we can give them a shout out.
Warsaw is the name of the band.
Do they have a website or something?
They have
Instagram.
They have an Instagram. It's I think it's either Warsaw or Poland Brothers.
I mean, this podcast does not discriminate. We're an equal promoting opportunity.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I've been following those guys for probably well over 20 years.
All right. Now let's get a little closer in our history to the bodybuilding time.
Yeah.
What got you involved into the bodybuilding world?
Well, I mean, honestly, we were always into bodybuilding. I never had really considered like competing in it, but we grew up like in our gym. There was always stacks of muscle and fitness. Like I think my dad brought us up on the, some of the kinesiology sections of, of muscle.
That Weeder would
would put out there, like all that stuff. So we grew up with all that old school stuff. I remember taking the old amino acids that were like the big,
oh my God,
the giant ones.
Scratch your throat.
Yeah, exactly. They were like dry. It was like, may as well had a piece of chalk going down. And
you remember, many people don't know this, protein powders will come in seal cans.
Yeah.
Tin cans.
Yeah, tin cans.
You actually needed a can opener to get the protein out.
Yeah, you had to either peel it off, or you had to do it like with the old school can opener.
And it was just a bunch of sugar and chocolate.
Yeah, there was not really any real nutritional value there at all.
Things have certainly changed.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So now, when did you get interested into competing?
So I'll be honest, like always was interested in the bodybuilding world. And then I've been working out at LA Fitness for years, for probably since the first year I moved out here in '98. So I've always trained at LA Fitness, and I met up with a friend of mine, actually, who was.
What year was that?
This was, probably in 2013, 2012, somewhere in there, 2013, somewhere in there. A friend of mine, her name is Claudia. And she kind of introduced me to like the bodybuilding scene. Like I knew it was present in the Valley. I just never was really like, I just kind of would observe from afar or whatever. And then she's like, you should compete, because we'd always see each other at the gym. And I met her and her husband, Jake, and we were just all, became friends. So started kind of training together. And she's like, you got to come to me with one of these shows. And I think
so that's the first people who influenced you to.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd always been into the bodybuilding scene, that kind of stuff, but I'd never even considered, hey, maybe I should try to compete in this. And it was kind of interesting because, I went to one of the shows and I'm like, I think I could do that.
But then now it's 2013, you decided to enter a show. Do you find a coach? How do you put it together?
Actually, believe it or not, we went to one of the first shows. I think it was the AZ Open, and just kind of were up in the balcony watching all this. And I went to my original coach was Gene Decker.
Gene. It rings a bell.
Kind of. He's just pretty much follows along with how I grew up. He's very old school bodybuilder.
Okay. Like back in 2003. 13, we were all old school bodybuilders.
There was not really everything that there is now. It's a lot different,
So you entered your first show, the AC Open.
Yeah, AC Open.
Men's Physique.
I did Men's Physique. And the thing that I've, kind of where I didn't actually coin my nickname that I have, No Juice Joe.
No Juice Joe.
That's me.
No Juice Joe was born.
No Juice Joe was born. I mean, in essence, I've always, I think one of the things that my dad always taught us from a young age was, to stay away from steroids. And not that I've got anything against anybody that does do
understand.
Steroids.
I have the same sentiment in many ways, because sometimes we want to portray steroids as a reason why everybody gets in shape.
Right.
And it's not the reason.
No, there's still a ton of work required with that.
And for the most part, the the entire narrative, what it does is it's almost like you have to continuously and permanently defend yourself through the presumption of most people about it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And I've had plenty of people, just as I was in competition shape, you go into the gym and they're like, well, you got to be running something. I'm like, no, I take pride that I don't. You know, that's what I've always been prideful of that, you know. And I think that was something that my dad instilled at us at a young age. He's like, look, he goes, you know, you see a professional football player, they're not walking around with a football. You go see a professional basketball player, they're not walking around with a basketball. You see a bodybuilder, you know that guy bodybuilds. He's carrying around his sport.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
You know, and
now, go to the show. How many classes did you do? How did you place?
I always did, well, obviously I did open and then
men's physique.
Men's physique, yep.
Which was fairly new.
Yeah, at the time it was new. Like when I started, they never had what now they have. I think you got men's physique and then you've got the classic physique.
Back in the day, up until 2009 was only men's bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding, fitness and figure.
Yeah.
Fitness and figure was introduced in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
But, you know, in 2012, the IFBB says, if you don't like to do legs, we have a class for you.
Right, yeah. I mean, and that's not why I got into it, because, you know, I train legs. You know, I think that's kind of one of those stigmas with men's physique is that they, you know.
Oh, no, listen, I'll tell you for a fact. I trained plenty of men's physique guys that do not like to do
Oh,
legs.
I'm sure, yeah. And I don't doubt that there's plenty of that going on out there either. Like, I've got zero doubts of that, but it was just kind of the thing that interested me. I wasn't like interested in going on stage in something real small. It just didn't interest me. It wasn't, you know, it was kind of nice. I was like, okay, this is kind of like you get on stage and it's more of like you're getting on stage for like the GQ look,
like a beach body
look. And I was like, that fits well for me. I just always like to stay in good shape, and like I'll go into it in that. And
so how did you do on that show?
My first show, I don't think I ever placed. I think I was probably maybe 7 or 8. And then as I progressed and as you know, your prep for each show changes.
How many shows did you do?
In my career, total of 15.
That's a lot of shows.
15, yeah. So the first year I did 4, and then I progressively did more and more.
Did you do any shows outside of Arizona?
Yes, I did Jay Cutler's show in Vegas. I did
Vegas.
USA's, competed in USA.
Too.
Yep, that's in Vegas. So those were the two outside of I always did Miles production shows. What else did I do? Dennis James, I've done his show.
Yeah, you know, we miss Miles.
Yeah.
I never thought I was going to say I miss Miles, but I do.
Yeah. So I was always competed in those shows, and the one thing that, like I said, I was just always prideful because I didn't know, you know, I was familiar that plenty of people were not natural.
Now, the question to you is the following. Now, you get to meet a lot of people, including we met in one of the shows. Mention some of these amazing people that you met that perhaps today you might have a good relationship with. Give me a few anecdotes and funny stories.
I will say one of the people that really got me tied in, still a good friend, great friend now, that got me tied into the fitness industry and trying to essentially do what you're doing here, is trying to create some sort of unity with the community to where there's always going to be natural competition between gyms and competitors and that kind of stuff with Nikia Chavez. At the time, he was at XL Fitness.
Okay.
And he was doing events to bring in competitors.
No, he's still doing events.
Still doing
you know, it's kind of funny. Yep. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Nikia is so underrated.
Yeah.
Because he goes on to organize his events.
Mm-hmm.
And the community has an outlet, whether you're in business to showcase your business, an athlete to win something, a model to have an opportunity. And I look at people who criticize people like Nikia, but they've never done anything.
Yeah, you gotta. I mean, to walk in his shoes, you don't really know what it takes to do all the things that he does.
Yeah, and you know, it's under the radar. I seen him do his thing, and I've always been somewhat a contributor. Every time he calls me, I try to be there.
Yeah.
I wish that I could participate in every one of his events, but Nikia, if you're probably watching this, I want to let you know how grateful I am for every single event that you've done that's made the fitness world in Arizona a little better. So
absolutely.
We met Nikia. We met there. I don't remember how we met.
Geez, you and I think we probably met through
backstage.
Probably backstage. More than likely backstage. Like most of the people that I know in the fitness industry.
I had a ton of pictures with you, and I sometimes like, what am I doing taking all these pictures of this
right?
guy?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think we just kind of, that's where I met a lot of different people. And then, you know, I got tied up with another company, a nutritional company, and that's where I, you know, kind of expanded my broad range.
Do you care to mention?
Isogenics.
Okay.
Isogenics. Yep. I'm involved. I'm still use those products to this day, but I met a ton of different people. I think that's where me and Daryl Daniels really got. We got really tied in together. Tony Mandrich, a lot of these guys, like I know through, I met them through Isogenics. Will Armijo.
I used to train Will.
Yeah, yeah. And I still
won a few shows with me.
Yeah, I competed against Will. We've been on stage together, you know. So yeah, a lot of these guys, like I think just through competing, through Isogenics, through the events that Nikia always set out, you know, that it just keeps your connection to the fitness industry just keeps broadening and broadening.
Question to you, going back to the actual competition. Can you explain how does it feel to get on stage for the first time?
I think the first time you don't know what to expect, like, because you get out there and, like, you know, you're in there before you actually really go on stage, and you can kind of go and look and see the lights, but walking out to like a crowd if you've never done it before, yeah, I mean, you have to like. I've never been one to like overreact in situations, but you go out there and you're like, it's intimidating. Oh yeah, it humbles you in a hurry because you're like, oh man, yeah, now, yeah, reality just just struck. So it's a little intimidating, but I think as you do more and more shows, you get used to the stage.
So you do your preps, you do the shows, you build the camaraderie, the community. You get involved with Isogenics. You get involved with Twisted Gear.
Yep, Twisted Gear. Danny Franchini. Yep. Danny. Still friends with the guy to this day.
Same guy like with Nikia. Yeah. They're always trying to do something.
Yep. The guy is, I'll be honest, there are few people that I know that will outwork Danny.
Oh, I know
that guy
I know
is
that for a fact.
He's an animal, like an absolute animal, and you understand where he came from, his upbringing.
Well, not only that, I've always been the guy who can appreciate without interfering people, and seeing Danny grow, and at times I felt sorry for him because he was so interested in contributing with people that I noticed that at times Danny would be coming in with the hats and the shirts and helping and sponsoring. Yeah, and I'm like, if this guy knew how ungrateful some of these people are.
Yeah, and that's I think throughout my relationship with Danny and Twisted Gear, you definitely got to see some of the unfortunate sides of people taking advantage.
We need more people like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like Danny's a giver.
Yeah, very much so.
And
I met him through Nikia.
I met him through Nikia years, but it's that type of dude that you gotta appreciate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, he's to this day, Danny's still one of my closest friends. Like we're not in contact every week, but he's that type of guy that when we do get in contact, we pick up right where we left off.
All right, so we get into all this stuff. Life is bright and shiny. Everything is good. One day I get a phone call, and I heard over the phone, somebody telling me, Joe had an accident. And I know that Joe loves you, so wants you to come to the hospital. So I'm like, what? And then another episode of A Remarkable decided to succeed is born. And then you become an amputee. Tell us about that.
So that was actually...
when was it and how it happened?
That was in 2015. And that was 2 days after Christmas. just decided to take. It was actually my brother's motorcycle that I went out on. And yeah, that was, I don't remember a lot of the actual accident, but I remember, you know, I spoke of my friends before. I was riding with my friend Claudia and her husband Jake. They were on one bike together, and I was on my brother's bike. And basically just what happened is I came through an S turn a little bit fast, well, a lot fast, and lost control of the bike. And I drifted across 3 lanes of traffic, and I hit the curb. When I hit the curb, it threw me. I top-sided the bike, and it threw me for over 380 feet through a median. I crashed through 4 or 5 Palo Verdes, a cactus, off a boulder, and essentially it.
Like the human cannonball.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, to be honest, I think if I would have landed in the westbound lanes of traffic, I probably wouldn't have survived. I do believe that the trees, everything that I crashed through is what saved my life. You know, it was, I don't have a lot of memories of like the accident. I just remember, I remember turning onto, it was on Happy Valley Road between 83rd and 91st Avenue, heading eastbound. And if anybody knows that area, you're kind of come up over a little bit of a mountain, and then the road does kind of a little S turn through there. And the last thing I remember was turning out onto the road and then following my friends. And then the next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital.
Do you remember when I came to visit you?
I do.
What do you remember?
I just remember your smile all the time. That's one thing that's always the most memorable about is your smile and your laugh. Your smile and your laugh. So, it was crazy because the kind of outpouring of support I got from the Phoenix fitness industry, I did not expect that. Like, it was crazy. Like the doctors and the nurses and everybody that were in the rehab facility, they were like, we always knew when someone was coming to visit Joe because it was always like a bodybuilder or just there was people that were everybody in the fitness industry. Like there's always someone that's in.
So what do you remember? Let's see if you remember. What do you remember from that day that I came to visit you?
Geez, I'll be honest with you, and I was just going to say this. Like, it's hard because I remember people coming, but they had me on. I was on a lot of different pain meds and stuff like that. So a lot of my memories with everybody, I was in a cloud there for quite a while, and I didn't like it because, you know, with me, like with No Juice Joe, I'm the type of person, I rarely even take cough medicine, you know, so they had me on heavy pain meds. So
save your life. Try to
save my life, you know, basically keep pain management under control. So they had me on some pretty heavy pain meds, you know, so a lot of those visits, I do remember faces and I remember conversations, but
Do you remember that I was visiting you and I had something in my possession that you liked?
Let me think back. Now you're putting me on the spot here.
Because we're going to have to settle the score here.
Let's settle this.
We're going to have to find out who did that because I had a watch.
Oh, man.
And you were kind of like on cloud 9 or some opioid shit.
Yeah.
And then you said, man, I love that watch. And I just took it and gave it to you. It looks like somebody stole it. We're going to have to find out. Because I said, you know what? It's like, I'm not saying like this dude is going to die or anything like that. I said, you know what? This is just an object. And I remember he's like, man, I love it. Something like that.
Really? And see,
and
honestly,
I took it up and
I feel bad because now you put me on the spot. Now it's like, now I feel like an asshole.
No, because I know that I came to the hospital 3 days after the accident.
Okay.
So I was one of the first people.
Yeah.
Because you were in intensive care unit for like 72 hours.
Yeah.
And the moment they brought you out, then that's Erica Rankin.
Yep, Erica Rankin. Yep.
That's the one who called me. Hi, Erica.
Yep. Yeah, Erica's awesome. I know
she
Erica.
She called me, and, you know, she's like, you know, Joe loves you. I just want you to come in. And what I wanted to do is do what I know that is imminent for all of us at some point, that we want that one visit that makes a difference. So I just wanted to say, you know, not for the law of karma. Just you reap what you sow.
Yeah. Naturally,
you're a good guy, very affable and friendly to everybody. I wanted to be there for you, and I also got to understand that your father was an amputee.
Oh yeah.
Tell me How does that? How weird is that?
Yeah, my dad's an amputee. So my dad, he was always, always in good shape, but he was diagnosed with diabetes in his 30s.
So I go visit you like a second time.
Yeah, and you see my dad.
And then I see your dad, and I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Same leg.
Yeah, same leg. Well, actually at the time he would have been, because he eventually had both legs amputated,
Okay.
All basically because of diabetes, just so many different, surgeries he'd gone through because of being a diabetic.
I can understand that. My dad's family, they all had, they saved their wheelchairs.
Yeah, that runs in Hispanic families, unfortunately, but so he lost his legs through being diabetic. He just started losing circulation in the lower half of his, from the hips down, and to pretty much save his life, they started at the foot and then kind of kept going up, and there was a bilateral blow of the knee. Yep. Question
to you: now you're an amputee. Tell me about the mental process of accepting that, because this is let's get serious here.
I take that. This honestly stems from the way we grew up. Like, my parents were always the type of parents that we were never coddled. Growing up in the way I did, with some pretty roughneck family, hardworking families, we weren't coddled. We were, hey, rub some dirt on it, get up. If you were actually seriously hurt, we could take you to the hospital, but that never happened. So I remember when my dad originally told me, and I can remember to, as clear as day now, as I woke up out of the from the accident, from ICU, my dad was in the room. I remember seeing him to the side of me, and he wakes up, and it's going to get emotional.
And you have to hear it.
Yeah. That's, for me, that's probably the hardest part of the whole accident, was waking up, probably more emotional about it now because I lost my dad in 2020. But I woke up to him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you the absolute truth." He's like, "You were in a terrible motorcycle accident. You lost your leg. You're in ICU." I mean, he gave me the absolute truth, and I think part of that, the reason why he knew he could tell me that, is because anything that I've ever gone through growing up, like, it was always like, okay,
I'm going to give it to you straight.
I'm going to give it to you straight. Keep a positive mindset about things. That was always my parents. Like, okay, you're going to be in a bad situation, but like, your mindset will carry you through that more than anything.
Very powerful.
So when he originally told me that, I remember one of my first thoughts was like, well, shit, now I got a lot of hurdles I got to get through. And there was never anything where I was like, I just never had the mindset of like, feel sorry for yourself for losing your leg.
Mm-hmm.
Like, feeling sorry for myself is not bringing it back. It's just not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So for me, that's always, I think anytime anybody interviews me or, they, bring that up, that's probably one of the one things that brings more of my emotions up than anything, is just that, because it does, like, just having your father tell you that coming out of an accident, it makes me reflect on my entire childhood, the way we were brought up.
So you feel like somewhat you are spiritually prepared for.
Yeah, absolutely do. Because
now, questions that I have myself, I like going back to work, mm-hmm. Friendships, relationships with your girlfriend. Mm-hmm. How does that change when you lose a limb? Does it get you tired when people ask you? How's that adjustment process?
See, honestly, with me, like, I think it's, my parents were both social butterflies. My mom more so than anything. Anybody that knows my mom knows she'll meet you and she'll tell you our entire life story. That's just the way my mom is. So I've always been a social butterfly in that aspect. And I feel like being comfortable with being a genuine person allows you to get closer with people just in general. But I would say, as far as like relationship wise, it's hard because I can explain to you till I'm blue in the face what I go through, but until you, I think I would say probably the one person that sees the pains I go through more than anybody now is my wife.
All right, we have it right here. She's helping us with the production
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah, my wife,
not
Emily.
podcast.
Yeah. So she probably understands more so than anybody, like a lot of the, because the leg was not the worst of my injuries. I sustained what's called an open book fracture on your pelvis. My pelvis went like that.
Oh, wow.
So I've got 13, 14 bolts currently holding my pelvis together. Okay. I've got titanium straps in my ribs. I've got plates in my wrist, a lot of that stuff. So I think even when you're just dating someone or just talking to people about it, they see that you're doing well. They see the end result, but they don't understand. It's just like anything. I don't expect sympathy or anything like that from it, but it's hard to I can explain to people the kind of pains you go through, but until you see and not to get too gruesome, you see the sores and abrasions and all that kind of stuff you go through. And then, just even when we did the gym crawl and we were doing the box jumps over here, I remember the next day I was like, my pelvis was killing me. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry I made it.
No. I love that stuff. That's the kind of stuff I eat up. But I would say trying to get people to understand.
I would score you higher if I knew.
No. I don't expect any special treatment. That's one thing I want to.
So yeah, this adaptation process has brought you to many great things. I see you involved with prosthetics.
Yes.
I see that you're a strong member of the community when it comes to advocating for it. And now you are in a new chapter of your life. Mm-hmm. You're married, and you are one of the owners of Rise Above. Tell us about Rise Above and what you guys are all about.
So Rise Above, we're only just a little bit over a year and 3 or 4 months old. We're brand new gym, and this is I got in a partnership with a friend of mine.
What are your friends' names?
Frank Granada. Him and I have been friends quite a while. I used to work out with him quite a bit. We had a lot of aspirations of owning a gym previously. So this has been kind of a journey for him and I for some years, and it just never panned out. I was training at, a previous gym as well with DeAndre Penn, you know Dre, over at Pro Fitness RX at the time. Now it's Elevate Fitness. At one time we had, we approached him about potentially taking over ownership of his gym. Didn't happen.
So with Frank and who else?
Frank and then Mike DeRose.
So where are you guys located at?
We're at 49th Avenue in Thunderbird.
And what kind of proposition of fitness do you guys? Who's the ideal client for your place?
Honestly, ours, I know some gyms kind of lean more towards bodybuilding. Maybe I would say we lean more towards pretty much creating just a healthy lifestyle for individuals, because I've got
general population,
healthy, absolutely,
lose weight,
and we lean towards supporting veterans, active duty military, first responders. We're a 24-hour.
That's your community.
Facility. Yeah, we try to lean more towards that community as well. But we're open to anybody, which is great. We're a 24-hour gym. But yeah, I would say we probably lean more towards just an overall, basically creating overall healthy lifestyles for people. I think my oldest client's 68, all the way down to the, mid 20s, early 20s.
Okay. So now we're here. It's 2024. You go through hell and back. Here you are. You're happily married. You are now one of the heads of Rise Above. Mm-hmm. What's in the future for Joe?
What's in the future for me? I think I would say, I've got a heavy interest in just continuing growing the business client base, helping more people. I recently acquired a running blade, so that's kind of a new journey. I saw
some videos of that.
So that's a new journey for me too. And a big part of that is
meanwhile your wife is praying, please don't fall apart.
Yeah, please, right. Yeah, she's seen me fall quite a few times, so thankfully I'm built pretty sturdy. I just have a few more metal parts in me now. So I would say with my big focus now is just basically trying to continue to grow the business.
Any plans to get back on stage?
I've given it thought. I don't know that I will. I mean, like I said, I've done 15 shows. Actually, the last show I did, that's in essence kind of where me and Emily met, you know, through not only through LA Fitness, but through the show. Chris Thompson and Tosh Williams.
Chris and Tosh, great people.
Yeah, they're awesome.
We're going to have to find a way to bring it to the.
Yeah, you got to get them in there.
The not podcast
yeah, right,
with Ivan Almonte. So Joe, I wanted to leave it open for you. I just wanted to say how grateful I am that you decided to do this first episode.
I love it. I love it.
My objective with this is to showcase the stories of the C-list celebrities like us.
I might be D-list. I don't know. We'll see.
So I'm planning to do for my own selfish reasons.
I love it.
Take care of my friends and showcase what we can do here from Muscletopia USA, and
that's what it's all about.
I wanna leave it up to you. I would like you to close in with some words or message of inspiration for those out there who hope that their life gets better. What is it that you have to tell people maybe that are hurting, that are in need, that maybe are not getting what they want or expect? Go ahead.
Honestly, that's kind of one of the questions I get asked periodically, as far as like moving forward through everything I've been through. And I feel like the response I usually give people more often than not is, you know, you can't put what I've gone through and compare it to what someone else has gone through. They're just hurdles in the way. So I always tell people, I'm like, the best thing you can do, and you know, I preach this all the time, is, you know, continually keep a positive mindset. I know it sounds cliche, but there's so much value in that. If your mind isn't there, your body's not going to follow, you know. So that's the biggest thing, is like, I always look at, you know, so when I originally got, when I originally found out everything that I was going to have to, you know, deal with, it was basically put my mind in the right spot. Okay, there's work that needs to be done, regardless if that's work in your nutrition, work in your mindset, work in your physical fitness. Like, there's work to be done. And whether you're taking huge leaps and bounds or just tiny little steps, it's still progression. You know, you don't have to make these huge leaps and bounds to where you feel like you're a success, because it's all, you know, as you know, all the small little steps along the way that create that larger success, you know.
Well, I want to again sincerely thank you for coming into this podcast.
Thank you.
This is not with commercial purposes, but if you would like to subscribe and like and all that, make some comments there. Maybe, you never know.
Critique maybe a little bit.
Maybe we can get somewhere.
Yeah, right. Hey,
bring it in. Thank you so much. And you guys, stay tuned. We got more great stories for you.
Love it. Awesome.
Thank you so much, man.
Of course,
Appreciate it.